I'm really shocked.
Well, you never told me you wanted to go.
I know.
You tell
I
him,
know.
you don't tell me?
Dr. Phil McGraw, the bold, unapologetic voice who has confronted America's darkest secrets on television for over 2 decades, has built an empire on brutal honesty. But at 75 years old, in 2025, the man who made millions telling others how to fix their lives stands accused of something shocking: exploitation, manipulation, harm. The hashtag Cancel Drive Phil movement exploded across social media. Former guests came forward with devastating allegations. His show ended not in triumph, but in controversy. The Board of Psychology investigations, the lawsuits, the whispers that the man who claimed to help people was actually destroying them. Dr. Phil spent 21 years as America's therapist. Now, at 75, he's fighting for his legacy. The world saw a tough-love cowboy psychologist saving broken families. But the truth was different. Behind his trademark mustache and Texas drawl lies a story not glamorous, but brutal. A man who climbed from poverty to a $460 million fortune, who survived a tragic plane crash, who lost his first family to ambition, and who now faces the heartbreaking reality that his life's work might be remembered as harmful rather than healing. This is Dr. Phil at 75. Cancelled, criticized, and clinging to relevance. If Dr. Phil has ever made you question your own choices, hit like as tribute to his unflinching confrontation of hard truths. This is the story of a man who rose from the Oklahoma oil fields to become television's most controversial psychologist, who built an empire on other people's pain, and who now must face the devastating consequences of his own methods. September 1st, 1950, Vinita, Oklahoma. Philip Calvin McGraw was born into poverty, marked not by celebration, but by uncertainty. His father, Joe McGraw Jr., was an alcoholic oil rig equipment supplier who dragged the family across the Southwest chasing work. Kansas City, Oklahoma City, small towns with nothing but dust and desperation. The beginning was not glamorous, but hardscrabble. Phil's mother, Jerry, held the family together through sheer force of will. While Joe drank away paychecks and disappeared for days, Jerry raised Phil and his 3 sisters in houses they could barely afford. They moved constantly. Phil learned early that stability was a luxury, not a guarantee. In Vinita, young Phil watched his father stumble home drunk, watched his mother cry quietly in the kitchen, watched poverty steal dignity from good people. He vowed he'd escape. By high school, the McGraw family had settled in the Kansas City area. Phil was a linebacker on his high school football team. -5'11", aggressive, hungry to prove himself. Football was his ticket out. In 1968, he enrolled at the University of Tulsa on a football scholarship. Finally, a chance, a future. Then came the injury, a devastating hit during practice. His knee exploded, ligaments torn, cartilage shredded. The scholarship disappeared. At 18, Phil McGraw's dreams died on a football field in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He dropped out, returned home, worked odd jobs, anything to survive. He was 19 years old with no degree, no prospects, and a father who reminded him daily that he was a failure. It is heartbreaking when the first door slams shut before you've even started. But Phil refused to quit. In 1970, he enrolled at Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas, studying psychology. He worked multiple jobs to pay tuition, graduated in 1975 with his bachelor's degree, then earned his master's in 1976, his doctorate in clinical psychology from the University of North Texas in 1979. Dr. Philip McGraw, at 29 years old, he'd clawed his way from the oil fields to a PhD, but the degree didn't guarantee success. 1979, Dr. Phil McGraw opened a private psychology practice in Wichita Falls, Texas, with his father Joe McGraw and McGraw, Inc. It failed within years. Patients didn't connect with Phil's blunt style, his impatience, his tendency to tell people what they didn't want to hear. By 1983, he'd closed the practice. Then came 1985. Phil co-founded Courtroom Sciences, Inc., CSI in Dallas, Texas, a litigation consulting firm that coached attorneys and prepared witnesses for trial. This was his breakthrough. not therapy. Strategy. Phil discovered he was brilliant at reading people, predicting jury behavior, and crafting narratives. CSI became wildly successful, earning contracts with major law firms across Texas. He was making real money, dollar for 100,000 annually by the early 1990s. But fame? That came by accident. 1995. Oprah Winfrey was being sued by Texas cattlemen for disparaging remarks about beef on her show. She hired Courtroom Sciences, Inc. to help prepare her defense. Dr. Phil McGraw coached Oprah through the trial in Amarillo, Texas. She won, and she never forgot the tough-talking psychologist who'd helped her. In 1998, Oprah invited Dr. Phil to appear on the Oprah Winfrey Show as a relationship and life strategy expert. He was 48 years old. The audience loved him. His tell-it-like-it-is approach, his refusal to coddle, his Texas swagger. Oprah invited him back, again and again. By 2000, Dr. Phil was a regular on the Oprah Winfrey Show, appearing weekly in a segment called Tuesdays with Dr. Phil. He published his first book, Life Strategies, in 1999. It sold over 2 million copies. Then came September 16, 2002. The Dr. Phil Show premiered in syndication, produced by Oprah's Harpo Productions and CBS Television Distribution. The ratings were massive, 6.6 million viewers on the first day. By 2003, Dr. Phil was earning $15 million per year. By 2005, he'd bought out his show from Harpo and owned it outright through his company Patesky Productions. By 2010, he was earning $80 million annually. Dr. Phil McGraw had become one of the richest personalities on television, from the Oklahoma oil fields to a $460 million net worth. The world saw a self-made success story, but behind the success lies something darker. The tragedy of Dr. Phil at 75 isn't one event. It's the slow, devastating realization that the empire he built might have been constructed on exploitation. Let's start with 2008. Britney Spears, the pop icon in the middle of a public breakdown, was hospitalized on January 31, 2008. Dr. Phil visited her at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Without permission, without invitation from Britney herself. He later released a statement discussing her condition publicly, claiming he wanted to help her family intervene. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Britney's family hadn't authorized the visit or the statement. Dr. Phil had used a woman's psychiatric crisis for publicity. He apologized, backed off, but the damage was done. What few people know is that this was a pattern, not an anomaly. Then came 2019. Shelley Duvall, the actress from The Shining, suffering from mental illness, appeared on the Dr. Phil Show in 2016. The episode was shocking. Shelley rambling, clearly unwell, while Dr. Phil interviewed her about her delusions. Critics called it exploitative, cruel, a sideshow. Vivian Kubrick, director Stanley Kubrick's daughter, publicly condemned Dr. Phil, calling the interview appallingly cruel and lurid. Dr. Phil defended it, claiming he was trying to get Shelley help, but the episode aired. Millions watched. Ratings soared. And Shelley Duvall retreated further from public life, more traumatized than before. The phone calls started coming. Former guests, dozens of them. In 2020 and 2021, BuzzFeed News published exposes featuring former Dr. Phil Show guests and staff members alleging that the show gave alcohol to guests with substance abuse problems before taping, provided minimal follow-up care after exploitative episode staged interventions for dramatic effect, pressured vulnerable people into apparenguing. Former guest described being given a bottle of vodka before filming while in recovery. Another claimed they were abandoned immediately after taping with no real resources. Staff members reported toxic work environments, manipulation, and psychological harm. Dr. Phil denied the allegations, but the stories kept coming. Then came 2023. After 21 years on the air, CBS Media Ventures announced that the Dr. Phil Show would end in 2023, not because of poor ratings, but because Dr. Phil, at 72, wanted to move on. The final episode aired on May 25th. 20 to 3. He immediately launched a new venture, Merit Street Media, a production company focused on creating content for streaming platforms. In February 2024, he launched Dr. Phil Primetime on Merit TV, his own network. The world saw a graceful transition, but the truth was different. Dr. Phil was being pushed out by changing cultural attitudes. Cancel culture, accountability. The hashtag #CancelDrivePhil hashtag trended multiple times between 2020 and 2023. His methods, once celebrated as tough love, were now viewed as harmful, exploitative, and unethical. It is heartbreaking when the thing that made you famous becomes the thing that destroys your legacy. And there's more. Dr. Phil lost his license to practice psychology in Texas in 2006. He chose not to renew it. Technically, he hasn't been a licensed psychologist for nearly 20 years, yet he continued to be called doctor and dispense advice to millions. His personal life holds tragedy too. His first marriage to Debbie Higgins McCall in 1970 ended in divorce. In 1973, Debbie later claimed Phil was controlling and psychologically abusive. She died in 2014. Still haunted by their brief marriage, Phil remarried Robin McGraw in 1976. They've been together for 49 years, 2 sons, Jay and Jordan. But even this seemingly stable marriage faced challenges. In 2019, rumors swirled about affairs and separation. Phil and Robin denied everything. The image of the perfect family, the foundation of his brand, was cracking. At 75, Dr. Phil McGraw is wealthy beyond measure, but his legacy is under siege today. At 75, Dr. Phil McGraw lives in Beverly Hills, California, in a $30 million mansion with Robin. His net worth is estimated at $460 million. He golfs, travels, runs Merit Street Media. His new show, Dr. Phil Primetime, covers political and cultural topics, a sharp departure from the therapy-focused format that made him famous, but ratings are modest. The cultural moment has passed. Dr. Phil has become increasingly political, appearing on conservative media, criticizing woke culture, and positioning himself as a voice against cancel culture. His sons work in the family business. Jay McGraw runs Stage 29 Productions. Jordan works in music. The McGraw empire continues. But at 75, Dr. Phil faces a heartbreaking question. Was he a healer or a profiteer? Did he help people? Or did he exploit their pain for ratings and money? He insists he helped millions, that his show provided resources, interventions, and hope. But the former guests tell a different story. And that conflict between his self-image and the reality of his impact defines Dr. Phil at 75. He's still fighting, still defending, still refusing to accept that his methods might have caused harm. Not because he's cruel, but because admitting it would destroy everything he built. At 75, Dr. Phil McGraw stands as proof that success and controversy can coexist in devastating ways. From Vinita, Oklahoma to Beverly Hills, from poverty to $460 million, from a failed football player to America's most famous television psychologist, but also from healer to accused exploiter, from celebrated to canceled, from helping to harming. Dr. Phil's legacy is complicated, messy, and unresolved. If this story touched your heart, leave a tribute below. Share a moment when Dr. Phil's tough love helped you see truth, or when his methods crossed a line. Share your thoughts on whether redemption is possible for someone whose career was built on other people's struggles. At 75, Dr. Phil proves that getting rich doesn't mean getting it right, that fame isn't the same as respect, and that sometimes the hardest person to confront is yourself.